Hello and welcome back to compiler programming. Today I want to try to make a while loop macro. So if you remember, we have this if support, very basic one, and there is also support for labels and jumping to a label. So now I would like to try to somehow put this all together to allow me to define a macro that will be a while loop. So let's start that. And I guess the first part would be to have some more simple macro in general. So have these mechanisms that would allow this substitution to work correctly. So let's start that. Should be able to define and use a macro. Okay, how is this gonna work? Well, we say we'll have this checker function, and then we say that, for example, we have double and then 4. Does that make sense? Well, I guess so. So normally function calls require this stuff, right? But we want to allow, or maybe I want to have negative as a sort of as a synonym for minus, right? So I say negative and then number, and that is going to be our macro. So this is a function that we'll call, and then we need to figure out the syntax for making a macro. And I honestly don't really have a good plan here, but we can start with something like macro, and then I guess it needs to have how do I want to do it? Well, so let's say that you pass in then an expression, and then I'd say negative, so we match exactly the right thing, so the right keyword that I'm looking for here. And then the tricky part is if I want to be able to match like exactly numbers. That's something gonna be interesting to figure out how the syntax for it can be. Yeah, we'll see. For now, I'll just accept anything, and for that I think having something like underscore is a perfect syntax. So we say that we have negative, and then we have this stuff, and then would be a replacement, and the replacement is going to be minus, or actually here maybe something like this would be great. So if something starts with a dollar, or maybe it starts with an underscore or dollar is fine, I think. We say minus dollar minus x, and dollar here is basically just a escaping sequence, more or less, so that we know that we need to create a variable with that name here, and we need to use it over here. Yeah, I guess something like that will work. So that is here we get the checker function. Checker function type is void to s32, void to s32, and checker function is -4, right? This is what we expect to happen. Okay, let's run the tests. They will fail because we cannot reduce the expression. Actually, the the tokenizer was really unhappy with us. Why was the tokenizer really unhappy with us? I guess the problem is that we don't have dollar as either part of symbols nor as a part of identifier. So let's make it a part of identifier, I think. Or symbols, or identifier, symbols. Symbols is more robust, but actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I will just do this. So if it starts with underscore, then it is gonna be a capture. Okay. So let's build that. Let's rerun the tests. And now I do expect to have something better. Apparently I do not. So this is an interesting question. Why did it fail to even tokenize? I guess I can open the debugger and see what is happening there. Function spec. We get a breakpoint over here and we try to run. Okay, what is the result? Result is error, errors, data, items. So errors, so result, errors, right? And then I have, oops. Data items 0. I think here. Like this, maybe. Unexpected input. What? You? Where is you here? Line 1, column 11. What? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, I'm really confused. What is the problem here? Is the problem just that I'm doing this? So let me try to narrow that down. Okay, so it doesn't like that we have ID starting with this, and where do we switch into ID? Oh, because we say that it needs to start with an alpha, but I think it's okay if it starts with an underscore as well. So that is a mystery solved. I can put back this match and let's try again. Yeah, so now it complains about what I was expecting it would complain, namely that it was not able to turn this into nothingness, so it wasn't able to match the macro definition itself, right? That means we need to add something here where we would say that token rewrite expression, token rewrite macro definitions. Okay, let's find something that we can use. Maybe this definition assignment or yeah, definition assignment is fine. Whatever. Or I can search for this one. Yeah. So let's do this. Bool, token rewrite macro definitions. It obviously gets the same set of arguments as everybody else. And we are ready to roll here. So we have token type ID and the source is slice literal of macro. Then we would expect, we don't want this, right? We expect to have two parenthesized expressions. So paren, this is going to be called pattern. And then the other one is going to be called what? It is going to be called replacement or something. Okay. This seems fine. Replace tokens is state. Yeah, we get rid of all three of those. And that seems good. Now, if I run the tests now, we should fail looking up negative. So it doesn't know what to do with it. Yeah, so that is pretty good. This is what I would expect. Okay. I'm just thinking, where should I shove this macro? Should it exist on a scope? I think that would be best if like we would allow to define local macros, not just global ones. There is really no reason to why they have to be global, but that would mean that we need to change scope definitions somewhat. So how does it look like? Well, right now we have scope map and scope parent, but we also want to have scope array macro definition pointer macros, or maybe just macro pointer, and that needs to also have some kind of struct. Type def struct macro. What is that thing gonna do? Well, it's gonna have that's actually very interesting. What it needs to have. I think that we will need to slightly change how the matching that I wrote yesterday works, but maybe one step at a time. For now, I'll just put a dummy thing here, void star foo, so that we can just start having the definitions, and then we figure out exactly what goes into this struct. Type def dynamic array type of macro. Actually, I want macro star array macro pointer. Okay. So let's see if that builds. It does build, but we need to do more stuff. Okay, where is my macro here? Okay, so what is it going to look like? We can extract pattern, right? And for the pattern, then we would say array token pointer pattern pattern token or something, replacement token. We make an array make of array token pointer, something like that. And we want to basically move over the pattern here and do some processing on it. So let's start pretty simple. U64, I is 0, I is less than dynamic array length of pattern token children. So to clarify, basically we have this definition, right? So whatever is inside of these braces is whatever we are matching on, and instead we will take all the tokens sort of verbatim. And right now only one level of nestedness, so we will not be able to do like nested matches, but if the token is identifier and it starts with an underscore, then we will need to have special treatment for that. Okay, and there is going to be a whole topic about sort of how to make these macro hygienic so that this definition doesn't leak out and like you create temporary values if something that is passed here in this expression, so we don't have all the sort of problems that come with C macros. But for now, I'm just gonna do the most straightforward and stupid thing, and if we need to adjust it later, that is okay. Good. So we say token star token is dynamic array get of pattern token children, no children, not checking, I, and if token type is token type ID and token source length, and actually I can do probably something like this, starts with token source slice literal underscore, something like that. Then we do something. I mean, it's a question, what do we do here? And else it is pretty straightforward. We say pattern or dynamic push pattern token. And here we will also need to push a token, so let's create one, token star item is temp allocate of token, and what do we say? Well, we technically don't care what the match is, so we'll just say like this. We still need to zero it out. Otherwise we will have garbage memory, but in general we don't need to put anything into it there. Okay, just forgot star. Cool. There's still stuff to be done here. In particular, we need to store somewhere the fact that we're gonna take that expression that we were passed into the macro, and we're gonna be substituting it for the result. Now the question is, what kind of substitution is that? Is it sort of a function call style where we said we evaluate value once and we use it as a value, or we allow to pass on some kind of syntax that is then recursively going to be expanded into something else? Just again to clarify what I mean, so imagine we created a macro that says like square x, and we say x times x, right? The question is, in C, if you have this kind of macro, then you will just substitute x for whatever was in here. So if and some line I would have square some, or probably like this, that's another question, some expensive call, right? We would end up with some expensive call being substituted for both of these, and that's doesn't look very nice as a default, but it should be possible to literally just provide a piece of syntax, not a value. And that's gonna be interesting to think about. It's not about being complicated to implement, but just from the semantics of the language standpoint and from the syntax, it's gonna be an interesting challenge. But for now, I guess I will do this direct substitution, or maybe value one, I'm not sure. Value one is probably going to be the simpler option because we can reuse the scope stuff. So we'll essentially just expand it to a definition and run that. Maybe. Need to think about that. Or I'm going to do literal substitution. I don't know. Let's maybe copy things. Okay, so this is a pattern, and I also need to say that we need to have a mapping from the index to the name. How do I want to deal with that? I guess I want to, in a macro, I do need to have something, and that something would be type def struct macro mapping, and actually this is, I can even not create new stuff. I will just say array slice pattern names, then tokens pointer pattern, and then another one token pointer replacement. Okay, that looks pretty decent, and here we can create them. So pattern, then array slice pattern names, like so. And what I'm gonna do with pattern names is the following. So if we are in this branch, then I would say like also actually push pattern names, and I'm just gonna push slice like this. So nothing. And then here, we need to remove the starting underscore, and then that would be the name of our kind of capture. So that would be slice sub, I think. I always forget the name of that function because I don't use it too often. Slice from to, yeah, that seems fine. So slice sub token source 1 and token source length. Okay, I will extract this so maybe it is easier to verify that it works. And yeah, looks good. Final one is obviously we have a replacement token, but that is pretty straightforward. So now we are ready to create our macro, and we say macro star macro is temp allocate of macro, and star macro is the following. So we have pattern is pattern, pattern names is pattern names, and replacement is going to be replacement token children. Okay, we created the macro, but we haven't put it anywhere useful. So let's say scope define or add macro, and we say scope and macro. The reason I want it to be a separate function because it will have a bit of logic. Say wait, scope add macro, scope star scope, macro star macro, and here I say if not dynamic array is initialized of scope, scope macros, then scope macros is dynamic array make of array macro pointer. And once it's there, we say like this, push scope macros macro. Okay, guess it needs to be all dots. That's fine. No, maybe not. Data points to a union. Yeah, so this is the problem. Cool. So first of all, let's see if that crashes. I expect actually to have exactly the same error. Yep, that seems fine. So Now inside of the scope, we actually have these macro definitions, which seems good. Now the tricky part is one, where do we use them and how do we use them? So token match expression. So somewhere over here, we'll need to deal with these. And another thing is we'll probably need to have a distinction between statement and non-statement macros, although maybe not. So token rewrite macros. Yeah, actually it doesn't take anything. It will just take this stuff. And then we need to do some funky things. And I'm looking for this stuff. So I think that token rewrite pattern will have to be split into two pieces actually. Where is that rewrite pattern? Yeah. So not sure what is the right approach here. But let's see. Have bool, token rewrite macros, I guess, or this can be void, it doesn't really matter. And how would that work? So here's what we do there, right? So that's maybe what we can start with. We don't need the pattern. We already have the pattern. So state, scope, function builder, like this. Another question is sort of the precedence of macros. Do you try to match a single macro over the whole input first and then you go to the next macro, or do you try to match each of the macros at each position in the input? And again, I'm not sure what is gonna be preferable long term, but we'll go with one option and figure out if that is not the right one. Okay, token rewrite pattern. This is this function. Let's actually split this, and we say array token pointer token match pattern. Not sure if we already have that function. Let me check. No, so match pattern seems good. And this is gonna be this stuff, right? So what does it need? It needs a pattern and it needs the state. So state and pattern, right? And here I say array token pointer of 0. and here we return a match. Okay, so we can do the following now. Is so just extracting some functionality, nothing really fancy. Pattern or state and pattern, right? And if not dynamic array is initialized of match, then return false. Okay. And then we can say token replace length, or replace tokens with replace length with tokens or something. This is a pretty bad name, but I'm a bit of phasing out on a better one. So the idea is that it will do this part. Okay. What does this need? Well, it needs replacement. It needs state. I think that's all that it really needs. We don't really need to return the match here. Yeah, here, destroy. I'm not sure if this one should call it. For now, I'll just call it myself in the original function. And here I can say token replace length with tokens. It wants to have a pattern length. So yeah, u64 pattern length. Okay, that's fine-ish. We pass in the state, we pass in the length, and then we pass in the replacement. Okay, let's see where are the problems. Missing type specifier, yeah. What does it return? Oh, nothing really. Okay. So that's good. And now the funky part. And I think I will let me think about that. So we have this token rewrite expression, right? Where are you? Token rewrite expression. So this thing, which is just trying to replace this stuff. For now, I will just copy it because it also might be slightly different. Although, will it or will it not? Yeah, no, we need to have it separate. Okay, that was not what I was expecting. We need token rewrite macros. So this stuff. Okay, so the idea is we start with a scope, right? And we say while scope So for each scope, for each macro in a scope, we want to try to make that replacement. So that would be something like for U64. Basically, I can copy this thing, except we can say like macro index. Something like that. Is this fine? Yeah, this seems okay. This break. Okay, so again, for each scope, for each macro definition, we try to match that. That seems good, I guess. And then here we say scope is scope parent. And here it is scope macros. And we say macro star macro is dynamic array get of scope macros I, actually not I, but macro index. It's misaligned. Yeah, it's supposed to be like that, I guess. And then I'm missing. Yeah, I'm definitely missing a curly brace. So this is fine. Okay, we have the macro and we need to actually do the replacement. So how that look like? Now we don't have callback. Instead, we will do this thing. Right. So let me just copy this and see how to translate this in one into the other. So what was previously true will be go to start. So here's go to start. And what was false would not do anything. So we say if it is initialized, then we do this and then go to start. Something like that. Pattern is now macro pattern. The dynamic array is initialized of match, that's fine. Match, scope, builder, all of that is okay. We can rename builder like this. Okay. Now there is a tricky part of I'm just thinking that even this is too complicated of an example, because the easiest one would be to not have to deal with captures at all. And yeah, let's start with that. So here we would say -42, or not sure how to best deal with this. Let's start with the following macro. You would have a macro called the answer, and we can actually make it 2 separate tokens since we support that, and this will just return or replace 42, and this is what we will do here. So just this will be enough to test that macro definitions are working without doing stuff with these substitution things. Okay. And I'm just saying that this will allow to basically do the replacement here without extra stuff. So I can just do macro replacement and to do capture expansion. Pattern, this needs to be macro pattern. Yeah, needs to have a star here. Okay, all of that builds, but I probably broke some original stuff and some new stuff. So let's see what is going on. Yeah, so as I said, I broke some things. Let's start with actually disabling these tests so I can debug what is going on in general, and we can run it from here and see what is going on. So okay, that is easy to fix actually, and I say that that is the wrong place. This should be here. And actually I want to change it to 4 because in that case I can do if not dynamic array is initialized of scope macros, then continue. Okay, let's try again. Okay, good. So at least I didn't break this refactoring. That is encouraging. And now we can uncomment this stuff here and see what is going on. Well, it failed, but I think it actually succeeded because this was just the wrong check. Great. So the basic stuff works. And as much as I would love to continue, I think that is a pretty long video already, and that would be enough for today. So we'll continue next time with the capturing groups. For now, this is already good progress, and that's it. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully see you next time when we continue with this macro stuff.